Throughout the semester, Dr. Krieg ended the discussion of various topics with variations of the question, do you think if a relative asked you over the weekend you could explain this concept? This question stuck with me for some reason. Maybe it's because I like to yap about what I learned to whomever is in earshot, and I am very lucky to have a family, for the most part, who is very receptive, or at the very least polite, about hearing me out about concepts I've learned over the years. With all of us in the trenches of the holiday season, this question became deeper seated. I thought about how discussions over the Thanksgiving table went for people and how other holiday gatherings will go. So, my project for environmental sociology is 3 perspectives on how to approach climate denial, or rejection of the proposition that climate change caused by human activity is occurring, or that it constitutes a significant threat to human welfare and civilization, for those of us who may have to navigate tough conversations about the state of the world. The first perspective is the theory of the treadmill of production. Coined by Alan Schneiberg in 1980, it is a critique of how the industry and government prioritize profits over ecological sustainability. As we've industrialized and streamlined many facets of production, it has made for an overconsumptive, ecologically destructive society. The Jevons paradox goes hand in hand with the treadmill of production, as technological progress, rather than decreasing the need for as many products to be made, has ramped up production due to the decreased labor and cost that goes into making a product. It may be hard to challenge the paradigm of, but any and all economic growth is good. That is the fuel of many dissenters of climate change, but try to focus on the ramifications that come with unregulated, uncapped corporate greed. Evoke the consequences of the idea of too big to fail. Get into a fight about the housing crisis that you have now inherited. Gloves off. The second perspective is the theory of risk society posited by Ulrich Beck and Anthony Giddens. This theory proposes that we have evolved from the threat of natural risks outside of human control to manufactured risks, such as pollution and climate change. We are preyed upon by corporations who pollute the planet by upselling us air filtration systems and paper straws that are created side by side to plastic straws in the same facility owned by the same company for the illusion that individuals are the problem but could be the solution. The onus is on us to pragmatically stretch our dollar to do an inverted quarantine to protect ourselves from these manufactured risks. You could tackle this by touching on the anxieties or anger that can come from the average shopping trip, as well as carefully treading towards anti-capitalist statements without naming it directly. Be like, it's kind of crazy how Scotch-Brite creates the crappy chemically dyed sponge as well as the proposed solution. Seems like corporate greed to me. Vibe check from there. The final perspective in this non exhaustive guide to changing the vibes at the family dinner table is approaching the topic with an environmental justice lens. This perspective is often accredited to Dr. Robert D. Bullard for his book Dumping in Dixie as a response to how environmental hazards were systematically placed in African American communities in the South. This intersectional perspective highlights how we are all victims to climate change and corporate greed, but it is an inequitable distribution of who is most directly affected by its consequences. Something close to home, personally, is how the village of Middleport, about an hour from here, about 20 years ago, had a civil lawsuit against the FMC Corporation. FMC was contaminating the groundwater and soils of Middleport to create pesticides and being dishonest about the gravity of the poisoning of the community. When I talk to people about this from my hometown, people get up in arms about how everyone in Middleport was lied to and the health ramifications that have continued into the present day, but definitely wouldn't call themselves any sort of environmental activists. Find a local issue that is pertinent to the person you may talk to this holiday season and tug at the loose thread surrounding it. Who knows? Uncle Bobby might be crafting Molotov cocktails by New Year's. Bottom line, I think we should all try and start these dialogues with the people around us. We have inherited the climate crisis, but the next generation could inherit a better world.